I said, this is what I wanted and this is what I don't want to do. And I don't think that's something I did a lot before. I feel like I'm a bit more confident, in my business and, just like in my brand, and knowing that I had a brand, which was another big thing, really helped me to say, I'm not doing that. That's not for me.
That was Jessica Hylton-Leckie, and this is episode number 167 of the Chopped Podcast. Hey everyone, I'm Marley of the blog Namely Marley, and I am your host, and this is the Chopped Podcast. You know, this is the podcast designed for people just like you, bloggers who love food. That's right, this podcast is designed for you, the busy entrepreneur who is trying to do all the things while running a business. My goal is to share with you interesting and inspiring guests, thoughts, tips, strategies, and even some of the technical stuff. Sometimes I just feel like it's the tiniest of spark of inspiration that can really make a difference. It can turn the tide from a bad day, we all have those, right, to something that's inspiring. And it just takes a little bit of something to make a difference. So my goal with sharing these conversations with you is that maybe some things that's discussed may not apply to you, but there'll be that one thing that you hear that you just like send you soaring, and that's the goal. Before we get started, I want to share with you the review of the week. This one is from KS Fife, who says, I learn a lot listening to this podcast and enjoy the topics. I particularly enjoyed the latest episode on being vulnerable and authentic. Thank you so much, KS. I'm so glad to hear you say that, because being vulnerable and authentic are two attributes that I have spent a lot of time thinking about, and I'm definitely a student of those two things. I think probably because growing up a people pleaser, I've always felt like the other, who am I and how do I present myself to the other? And learning ways to, just be yourself and present that and have that be enough, I think is so important. And I really think I think it means a lot in today's world, where there is a lot of, it just seems like you can easily see people who are kind of playing those roles, and hey, good for them if that works. All I'm saying is that for me, the journey towards authenticity and, the integrity that comes with that feels really, really good. So I'm so glad to have people notice that and who also find that that's true for their life as well. If you'd like to be a featured listener in a future episode, just leave a review of the Chopped Podcast on iTunes. Your encouragement means so much. Today, I'm so glad to be sharing with you my discussion with Jessica Hylton-Leckie. She's of the site Jessica in the Kitchen. It was such a joy to talk with Jessica about her blog, how she's grown it over time, and how it has transformed her life, because Jessica started out as an attorney. So quite a big life transformation to go from being an attorney to becoming a food blogger. Very impressive. I got the feeling when I talked with Jessica that she knew food blogging was her path once she got on it, and nothing was going to get in her way. And, talk about authentic. We discussed ways of being more authentic and real, especially as it applies to Instagram. And Jessica shares some of, some very vulnerable moments that she shared with her audience on Instagram. And I just loved that conversation. It was really great. We also talk about what it means to consider branding as a food blogger. There are specific ways that Jessica has chosen to go about her work. And I think that if you really put some time and effort into considering your brand, I think it just helps make everything else so much easier. It's like, if you were writing a novel and you were thinking if you're going to write it in first person or third person or however you're going to write it, you want to kind of get that set up ahead of time. And I got the feeling from Jessica that she's put a lot of thought into the voice that she wants to have for her brand. And if you think about it, that really can help you, how you write your Instagram posts. And also we talked about the fact that Jessica has people helping her, people that she's hired. And if you have the voice figured out for your brand, it can help you then let other people help you as well. I think that's an exciting thing to think about. And I don't know, I really enjoyed that part of the conversation with Jessica. And in fact, I like the conversation so much, I think we should just get straight to it. Here's today's featured interview with Jessica Hylton-Leckie. Hey everyone, I'm happy to have Jessica Hylton-Leckie. She's of the site Jessica in the Kitchen, and she's also author of the book, It's That Easy, and she's on the show today. Hey Jessica, welcome to the Chopped Podcast.
Hey Marley, thanks for having me here.
Well, I'm really excited to talk with you. I mean, we have a lot in common because we both blog about, vegan and vegetarian lifestyles. And so we're kind of in the same circle, and I always love chatting with you.
Yeah, me too.
So I think the big question I love to start with is if you could just take a moment to, I mean, you have a very interesting background. I just am, inspired by the fact that you went to law school and you were an attorney, and then you transferred over to being a food blogger. I just wonder if you could tell people about that and what that felt like for you.
Yeah, of course. So I actually started blogging in 2010, very casual. And it was because I started, like an at-home baking company called Jessica Bakes. So Jessica was my high school nickname, and basically I sold cakes, cookies, that kind of stuff from scratch. And I did that for about 3 years while in faculty of law, so university. And then when I started law school, I actually stopped doing that completely. And then I started doing Jessica in the Kitchen. So, I've always had a little blogging going on during the entire law career. And in 2016, so I graduated from law school and everything. And in 2016, I stopped doing law. I was doing law for about 1.5 years, as an attorney. And then I started to do Jessica in the Kitchen full time. So there's always been, food there. I've always loved, that whole thing of just making people feel great about the food that they're eating, whether it was from Jessica Bakes days or now with, vegan recipes. And yeah, that's basically the transition from food to food to law and back to food again. Yeah.
Was that hard to decide to give up law?
Um, yes and no. I think I always knew what I wanted to do. And even though I enjoyed doing law, it wasn't my passion. So
Yes.
it was actually my dad who was the one who just recommended, what about trying this full time? And I actually worked at my parents' law firm. So for him to say that, I was like, oh, okay, this just made it a little easier. And they said that they could see that I was a great lawyer, but they knew where my passion was, and they heard how I sounded when I spoke about Jessica in the Kitchen, So it was difficult in terms of, I mean, when you're doing something on your own, as you know, it's kind of scary, as
Yep.
opposed to that 9 to 5, even if
Yeah.
it's not a 9 to 5, but just that steady paycheck versus,
Yes.
all of a sudden everything is on you to figure out. But it was definitely a relief to know that I had support from my entire family for it, especially my parents, my husband, my brothers, for sure.
I thought you were going to say that your dad was encouraging you to go, full time with law.
Oh, no.
That's
Not at
really cool
all.
that he's
Yeah,
supporting you. Like he's like saying, "Take this blog and run with it."
exactly.
That's really cool. I mean, you must have been was law for you then just like, okay, this is it's a steady, reliable career. It's, it's easy to get a job here, so I'll go for that.
Well, I mean, I did grow up with two lawyers for parents, and
I
while they
see.
never forced me to do anything, I think it was a natural transition. Well,
Yeah.
I've seen them do it successfully. And then after law, I actually did conveyancing and probate, so wills and real estate. And I actually really did enjoy, helping people and everything. So I think it was a bit of both. It seemed like a sensible path for sure,
Yes.
especially since and I also have a lot of other family members, my uncle, my aunts, who are lawyers as well, So it almost just felt natural. So yeah, that definitely felt like the path to take until I was like, this blog thing is really I really love it, And then I
Yes.
started to make money from it and everything. So yeah, it really was a change for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm just curious, like, what were I mean, as you're doing a transition like that, I just
Mhm.
can't even imagine the things that go into that. What was the hardest for you to transition? Was it photography or things like that?
I think you mean from law?
Yes.
Actually, I've always loved the photography side of it. I don't even think it had to do with skills. I think it was just more just that discipline of getting up every day and okay, this is what I'm gonna do every single day kind of thing. But
Yes.
yeah, I've always loved the photography. I definitely when I started doing things full time though, I invested way more into, learning more about photography, learning more about the business side. And like I said, my mom and dad, since I saw them as well as business people, they were able to help me. When I started Jessica in the Kitchen full time, I made a business plan actually, and I showed
Mm.
them, and it kind of like just had just like my goals like for the year, and like, just mapping everything out. And I think that helped me to take it more seriously as well.
Oh, I think it's so powerful to write things down because I
Yeah.
think, when you write it down, then it's a plan. It's more than just a little dream in your head. It actually, gives it legs, I guess.
Definitely. And then I think it really helps you to like flesh it out properly. If you're like, oh,
Yes.
this is a lot more complicated than I thought, or this is easier than I thought, depending on what it is.
Yeah, that's true because if it feels very doable, then it's actually like, oh yeah, it's funny that you say that because I've realized lately that I've spent a lot of time. I call I sound like somebody with multiple personalities, but I've kind of broken myself into pieces and said, I've spent too much time in assistant mode because
Yeah. Yeah.
I kind of enjoy doing some of those mundane things. I have to be
Mhm.
honest because it's mindless. You can do it while you're watching a show or
Yeah.
whatever, and I spend so much time in assistant mode that I forget to put my CEO hat on.
Yeah, no, I totally get you. And I mean, we're already wearing so many hats,
I know,
so
I
it
know.
is easy to get caught up in one versus the other, and like, oh, I need to balance this out. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I really have to put on that CEO hat and like have that business plan and know what, like, because if you have a business plan, then you kind of know what you're going for, right? Like,
Yeah,
okay, I've got to get some more sponsored posts because that's part of my business plan and I'm behind. I got to catch up or whatever.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah, so I love this. And you and I, we've talked a little bit about branding in the past, and I've been really intrigued by this and the things that go into. It's so easy to think about the logo and the looks of the look of your
Mhm.
site, but it seems like you've spent some time in understanding your brand and what it means. And I'm curious if you could talk a little bit about what branding has meant for Jessica in the Kitchen.
Of course. So actually last year, yeah, we're in 2018. Last year, when I started to see that Jessica in the Kitchen was growing a lot more, like right now we have 500,000 like readers on the site, social media over
Nice.
200,000, So, and then like between Facebook and Pinterest, we have a reach of about 8 million, which is insane to me.
Yeah.
But after seeing all of that, I was like, I really want this site to look as serious as I take it. And I reached out to a designer and a developer. So I actually reached out to a site developer first. And that was Brandy from Alchemy and Aim. And she recommended a designer. And I actually didn't know that, it would be two completely different people working together. So that was new for me as well. And it wasn't until I started to work with both of them that I realized why. So my designer, Caitlin, she actually, one of the steps to like redoing the site, because I just wanted to rebrand the
Yeah.
site itself. And she was like, okay, let's, rebrand Jessica in the Kitchen, like as a business as well. And she asked me all of these questions that I've never thought about. Like, what is my, even like just like that renewing of your mission for your readers and your core values and everything. And I was like, oh, okay. And so that helped to just develop the branding process of Jessica in the Kitchen. So it kind of happened like by default, but
Yeah.
because of that, I now speak to her regularly. We still work together this year, and we talk about like ensuring that even just like the branding is there. So for Jessica in the Kitchen, we have like a set of core values that we make sure every post follows, but also a list of what we do for recipes and what we don't. So as an example, um, all the recipes have to be vegan,
Yeah.
majority gluten free. What we don't do is overcomplicated recipes. So while I don't have like a limit on how many ingredients, I do kind of have a limit on like time wise and like difficulty wise. So we try and stick to everything being easy to like medium. And if something is going to be difficult, like we have to really decide, okay, this is worth it for our readers. And everything doesn't have to be from scratch, but we kind of have made everything from scratch so far, unless it's like a gluten-free flour mix that's helping our readers, but it still has to be like all natural. So we've kind of like just set those parameters for ourselves. And when I say ourselves, I mean like the entire team.
Yeah.
Yeah. um, and just like, okay, that is where the recipes will fall into. And then even I share wellness as well sometimes and travel. So if I'm doing a travel guide, I don't want it to be too complicated, you know? So everything just kind of falls within just those guidelines. And I think that helps as well. And in terms of like branding for Jessica myself, um, just like keeping that lively spirit and like core values. So our core values are love, authenticity, spirituality, growth, and health. And we just try and make sure whatever, um, again, because my husband does help me as well, whatever we're sharing falls within that, whether it's like the wording for Instagram or just like the vibe that we're giving across. So I try and put on that business hat, even if it comes to like answering comments. Sometimes when
Yes.
you get negative comments, you really want to
Yes.
lash out. And I have to like take the emotion out of it and like
Yes.
literally look at the list of core values first and say, does this comment align with this? And then comment. So it's really helped as well because it's actually a lot easier now, decision wise. You don't have to like think, I'm not really sure. You like, okay, does it fall within this? If it doesn't, then that's not a part of Jessica in the Kitchen. If it does, then it is.
Yeah, I like this. It sounds so inspiring. Is this different than how you operated before you had this branding discussion?
Definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like we were doing a lot of the things, but it just wasn't defined. So it
Yeah.
was maybe a bit more hit and miss before. And now it's like always on point because of the fat definition. And
Yeah.
it definitely makes a lot of decisions a lot easier to make. So even like, planning ahead and that kind of stuff. Okay, I know it has to fall within this. And are we going to share this photo or not, of me? Okay, that falls within that category of keeping, family friendly and all of those different things. So,
Yes.
yeah, it definitely helps now for sure.
Have you seen that movie Christmas Vacation?
Yeah.
The part where he's trying to like plug in the Christmas lights and
Yeah.
it's like it works, but then it doesn't work. It's
Yeah.
like and almost like I think it's because she's flipping on the switch, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And he doesn't realize that. And I think that's probably like me with blogging for the first 5 years or something, like where it's like photography. If I got it right, it was probably more of an accident than it was me intentionally doing it. It's kind of fun when you're intentional about it, though.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Really, I feel like it's a process. You have to start somewhere,
Yeah.
and so I think it's good to start from like a genuine place, and then you're like, oh, okay, this makes my life a lot easier when I have like a plan for it. So, yeah,
Right, exactly, and I love your thorough approach to this, like, even in how you respond to comments, because like you say, some people can be so mean
yeah.
in
Oh
their
my God,
comments, and it can, like, ruin your day, and it's so easy to wanna, like, I don't know, it's like it's tempting to wanna just, like, give it right back to them, but I
yeah,
love this idea of, like, showing killing them with kindness, kind of, like
exactly. Like my dad, actually said something a long time ago, where he said, as an example, if this was on the front page of the newspaper the next day, would you be proud of it? I was like,
Yes.
okay, that's
Right.
helpful because the last thing you want is to, whoever is leaving a mean comment, there's a reason for that and it probably has nothing to do with you.
Yes.
And you're like, if this is something I wouldn't be proud of, even a year from now, 6 months from now, tomorrow, maybe I
Yeah.
shouldn't say it, or maybe I shouldn't post it as an
Right.
example.
It's interesting that you say that because I kind of feel like what happens is they're having a bad day and they say something negative, but that negative thing that they said maybe strikes a chord of fear in us, or like we have this fear that we're not good enough. And so
Exactly.
that comment hits that chord and then it sends, it's like a bad dynamic. So yeah, it's better to take the high road. I totally agree
Yeah.
with that.
I've even had like some situations where, someone will leave a negative comment and I reply and they're like, oh, I didn't think you'd reply. I'm really sorry about that. And I'm like, it's okay.
Oh,
And I'm like, okay, kindness helps.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I am a person here. This is
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
Jessica is actually Jessica in the kitchen.
It's really me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And but it's I love what you're talking about because I do feel like beyond just like the color scheme and the look of the logo, really you're going for a certain feel and emotional response that
Yeah.
you're trying to, and also just like ease of the recipes? I think those are all really important questions to be asking.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so you had both a designer and this person was basically a brand expert and they were both working with you when you were doing your redesign?
So I have, and I still use the company as well, a developer. So they like put in all of the special, like, I guess you'd say coding, that part of
Yeah.
it. And then my
Yeah.
designer, she designed the whole thing. And she's the one who's also a branding expert as well.
I
Yeah.
see. Okay,
Yeah.
that's good.
So we
Yeah,
kind of work together on like just like both aspects, and it helps because she helps with like okay, this is a great idea, or even in redesigning certain things, she will have like an idea and I'm like, wow, I never thought about that. But she's definitely always brand first. So it definitely helps. And I actually work. She is a two designer team, so I work with her and my other designer, Norel. But they both work together, so
yeah.
it's really helpful when it's kind of like in the family. Everybody
Yeah.
knows what they're doing, and everybody's working together towards the same goal for sure.
Oh, and I've said this many times, but one of the things that I really miss about working at an office job is, or the 9 to 5, whatever, is I enjoy collaborating. I like being in meetings where people are talking about ideas. So it's like in some ways your designer and your designers are they're part of the people you collaborate with.
Right. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I will definitely say that there are things. Yeah, that's definitely something I miss because I love to just, like you say, sit down and brainstorm.
Yes.
But it's like an hour, half an hour, and just like go at it.
Yes. I think I'm an extrovert, so I'll have like a lot of ideas running around in my head, but it's not until they get out that they
Yeah.
feel real enough to follow through on them, I think.
Yeah.
Mm, I love that. And you have actually experimented with hiring a brand manager. Was that something that you would, want to talk about or you've done that and how it worked for you?
Yeah, so actually, we like sent out an ad earlier this year for that, and it didn't work out. But I actually have just started with a new team that's supposed to help me with just like you see, I realized after a while that maybe I didn't need the title of brand manager, but there were
Mm,
certain things within the brand itself that I needed, like editorial calendar ahead of time and everything. So
yes.
yeah, so I'm actually working with someone now who is going to help me with that in 2019. And I think that would definitely be, the kind of area that helps a bit more than just like brand manager. I think everyone needs to know what are the specific things that I need, because I think earlier in the year when I was like, okay, I need a brand manager, I'm actually glad it didn't work out because I think
Good.
I would have been like, I don't really know what to give you to do right now,
Yes.
especially since it's such a personal thing, it's literally Jessica in the kitchen. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, I think starting this way and having like everyone who does these little things that help for like the big picture ended up being better overall.
Ah, that's good. And I think
Yeah,
the other thing I really like about being so definitive about your brand is it really helps you draw your people in, right? Like, I mean,
yeah,
I think it was I've been talking about this a lot lately because I heard Seth Godin in an interview and he talked about how like, the whole world is not your audience.
hmm
You really want to attract the people who are interested in what you have to say or deliver. And
hmm
so it seems like the more you can spend time defining your brand, then the more you're going to get those people coming to you.
yeah. No, I definitely agree. And even like with Jessica in the kitchen, there's this well, I'm looking at it right now, it's on my wall, but I kind of have like a saying that says like, when blogging, solve a problem. And so I'm not just trying to like attract everybody, I'm trying to solve that specific problem for that group of people, and like you said, attract that group of people. And I definitely think
Yeah.
that helps when you know who is my tribe, and who are the
Right.
people that are going to keep coming back. And I think sometimes, I know like I used to do it as bloggers, sometimes we focus on, okay, how do I reach more people as opposed to serving the ones that we already have with us,
Oh, so true. Yes.
And
Yes.
I think this year, like, that's one of the things I really wanted to focus on. Well, 2018, I'm saying in general, just like,
Yeah.
okay, the people who are already here, what are the things that they already love that I can do more of, that I can, engage with them, as opposed to constantly, let's reach more, let's reach more. And the funny thing is, the more you focus on the people that are already here, the more they authentically share, hey, this, that.
Yes.
'Cause I have so many people who are like, I literally just speak about your site to anyone I can. And,
Oh,
yeah, that's such an honor for someone to say
yes.
that. And I think they genuinely feel like cherished, like I care about you guys who are already here kind of thing.
I would love to go into that a little bit more. What are the things that you do to make your current audience feel cherished?
Well, yeah, well, I actually started this like maybe 2 years ago, but this year I think I really acted on it properly. And like last year coming into this year, but I do like a annual survey. And basically it's just like trying to figure out, I put it on my site as a blog post and I ask everyone from all the different platforms to give me feedback. And that really helps me to know my audience. And that's one of the ways that I found out that my audience is 50% not vegan at all. It's like
Wow.
vegan. Yeah, it's like vegan, then like maybe 25% is vegetarian, and then the rest are like allergy friendly. And when I found that out, I was like, oh, I'm actually serving a lot more allergy friendly, like Ritas than I realized. And so I try and put more like alternatives into posts themselves, or even in the posts themselves, I don't like say, hey, vegans, I'd
Yes.
like speak to them as a whole as opposed to like singling people out or anything. And like even on Instagram, I do a lot of polls, so I will say, as an example, what do you guys want to see, this or that? And I just go with that. I go with their answer, or I'll ask them specific questions on Instagram. And I feel like that, or just engaging them a lot more, as opposed to like, I try to do more posts that feel like it's speaking to them as opposed to at them.
Yes.
And I feel like that works as well, for sure.
I love that because it's so easy. Like, we're all sitting back at with our planners trying to figure out what content to deliver. And it sounds to me like what you're doing is engaging your audience and saying, hey, what do you want to see?
Yeah, I mean, about I'd say every like couple months, I will just literally say, "What do you guys want to see?" For fall, and that helps if I see like, okay, they're asking for wild rice soup a lot. That's why my wild rice soup recipe came out as an example. So I definitely, when I'm doing my own feedback, take theirs in because I mean that's who I'm serving.
Right. Are you giving them options? Like, would you like to see this rice casserole or would you rather receive this broccoli side dish or do you just kind of leave it open ended?
It depends. So like if I already have some ideas that I think they might like, I'll say like A, B, C, and then I like
Yes.
D is like what is your feedback, like separate
Right.
from the above. So it's kind of like a mix for sure.
Ah, I love that. And that's like you say, that's great feedback because and then not only that, but you're building anticipation for that thing
Yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah. And then you'll get like, "Hey, where's the chili?" And I'm like, "It's coming out next week, I promise." Yeah. And even like that, I try way more now to share, like especially on Instagram. It's my favorite platform. That's why you
Yes, you're so
hear me
good at
mention
it.
it so much. Thank you. But like I'll be like, even like today, I shared coming to the blog later this week, or I will share like step by step making this, or this is what I'm having for breakfast. Do you want the recipe for it? So I really do try and like show them even like what I make on my blog, I actually eat, in real life. And I think that helps as well. But yeah, definitely trying to engage people a lot more this year and next year, of course.
So when you say you're sharing on Instagram, like this is what I actually eat, is that beyond what's on the blog? It's like this is my lunch today kind of thing.
Yeah, so like sometimes, so like yesterday I made well, actually my husband made waffles from my blog and I made like a tofu scramble, and they already know, these are recipes from the blog, but sometimes I will share like I don't know, like maybe a special kind of avocado toast. Do you want a recipe for it?
Yeah.
Or I'll just share the recipe on Instagram, in my
Yes.
stories. So yeah, it's like definitely a mix of both.
Ah, that's so good. And I think I think it's one of the mistakes that's easy to make on Instagram is to be
Mhm.
too careful with it. It sounds to me like you're actually experimenting and trying around with different ideas.
It's hard though, because I totally understand why people are so careful with it, because I feel like Instagram is one of the few places that you can just sit in front of the camera. You're like, I don't know what to say, and so I've been trying to practice even now, like way more, going on with no makeup and just talking, and even if I ramble a lot, and I'm trying to just make that a part of my narrative. Like
Yes.
I find like sometimes I'm like, anyways, guys, I can talk forever, and I feel like that's just me as opposed to trying to sound like someone I'm not, and I really think that has helped as well, just to show people that, I'm a real person,
Yeah.
yeah. And
How
it's
hard
not
was that?
me. um Man, you would think it would be easy to just be yourself, right?
Yes.
I think in a world of, you're afraid of criticism, especially since people can just be cruel sometimes. But
Yep.
I think once I started, it was just a lot easier. Like even earlier this year, I think was the first time I just shared a photo of me in a bikini, and I was like, that was a lot easier when I actually pressed send than I thought, And
Yes.
since then, it's been a lot easier to do that as an example. And yeah, I think it's one of those things where you kind of have to just do it no
Yes.
matter how you're feeling. And afterwards, you realize, that wasn't as hard. And then you kind of want to do it more because you feel like you've been depriving yourself of doing it before, So,
I know. I keep thinking once I reach some milestone, then I'm going to do that more, And I think you're right. You just got to start doing it. You got to start. I mean,
exactly.
I'm talking specifically about sharing pictures of yourself because
Mhm.
I do think that like, you and I share this in common. You're Jessica in the kitchen. I'm namely Marley. I mean, where our
Yeah,
names are in our brand.
exactly.
I think people have the expectation that they might get to know a little bit about us as a result.
Yeah, I definitely feel like if you ask your audience, they want to see more of you. Like I don't think there's an audience out there that's following someone, and
Yes.
especially like you said, people like us who our name is in our site. I don't think there's people who are like, oh, I don't want to know anything about you. I think everyone is like, I'm actually curious about you, the person behind it, because then, you kind of like draw a little narrative, or like a
Yes.
lot of people said, for example, they realize I like to squeeze a lime over things at the end. I was like, I didn't realize that, but I never got those comments before I started to like share photos of me. So I don't know if there's like, a connection there and wow, Jessica likes doing this. I don't know. I just feel like the more we share about ourselves, the more our readers realize this is actually Jessica making it, cooking it, adding in her own little twist, or
I love
Marley
that.
making it, cooking it, adding in her own little twist.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And then honestly, I think the more authenticity is a big topic for me. I've really spent some time thinking about it over the years. And
Yeah.
I think the more like I have recently in the last couple of months shared a few more photos of myself on my
Mhm.
Instagram feed.
Yeah, I
And it
noticed.
felt really good. Like it felt like I was being me and putting that out there. And so maybe it helps you come to peace with yourself as well.
Yeah. And I think we spend a lot of time, especially like as women,
Yes.
I shouldn't even say that, probably men as well, because I know I have like a lot of guy friends who are like, yeah, you guys just talk about it more. But I think everyone kind of has, a little bit of self esteem, like
Yeah.
worries of, but I think when you just do it, you kind of realize, and I think it helps when more people do it, like even more people in like the body positive movement, or more
Yes.
people who are just sharing like themselves authentically. I think
Yeah.
that helps to feel like I can do that too. And then when you realize, and I think what I try and do is, who are the people I follow, And I'm like, I follow people who are just real and just
I do
share
too.
themselves. So
Yes.
maybe I should do that more, And then you're like, people like this and I like it, because I actually think it's like a mini form of self care just to be yourself on social media. Because when you kind of start, I think, with a narrative of perfection, you feel like you have to always follow through with that, as opposed to, this is just me. So, like, on my feed, the photos are a bit more curated. I would never like say otherwise.
Yes.
But on stories, I'm just like sharing, and like in January when my husband and I are standing in a line in California, freezing for like a new restaurant opening, and I'm like sleeveless, and everyone's laughing with me. I'm like, why am I sleeveless? And I feel like that's better than just not sharing that, because what if people will laugh at me, kind of thing. So I feel like, you let your audience in on the joke as well, or, in on your just
Yes.
personal life. And it helps you as well to just laugh at yourself, and not take it too
Yes.
seriously.
So I think if I hear you right, what you're saying is on the feed itself, you probably are choosing more curated photos. They may be real photos of you, but they're more professionally shot or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then on your stories is where you kind of let your hair down and just share, even like you mentioned earlier about without makeup and things like that.
Yeah. And I've even shared like, I think the on my page, I haven't like there's like an obvious makeup photo in the snow, I think. But
Yeah.
before that, it was months before I shared a photo like with makeup, And yeah, so I feel like it's a mix, but you definitely want to still keep like, that styled look on your actual feed. But I think people know they can click over and see what Jessica is doing today as well.
Yes, I love that, and I think it's so inspiring. I think it also inspires your audience as well to know
Yeah,
that they can be real and authentic, and I don't know, I just think it's a I love this, you're talking about body positivity. I love all of this because I feel like for years we have been, especially women, I know men feel the same thing too, but I feel like we've been held to a standard that's impossible.
yeah. And it has made it, and I think that made it really hard. And then
Yes.
the second you see someone, you're like, huh, oh, they're sharing. And it actually, and I'm sure you know, it takes a while. It's not just one person. You almost have to see like 50 people doing it until you're like, I think I could do that as well.
Yes.
And then before you know it, it's just a thing that you're doing often. And
Yes.
yeah, I definitely think it's a great movement for the future, for sure.
I totally agree. Now, do you do your own photos or do you have a photographer that takes photos of you? How does that work?
My husband takes almost, in fact, I think he takes every single picture of me. Yeah, I
Oh,
don't,
nice.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
probably why they all look so good
yeah. But yeah, and that,
through
I
his
think,
eyes.
yeah, thank you. But I think that helps as well because, he gets it and he gets even just like the brand, and that definitely helped me to feel more comfortable as well. I think sometimes when it's someone else, you almost feel like, all right, I need to like fake it a little bit. But with him,
Yes.
I just already felt natural. So I think that came across in the photos as well. Like, I
Yes.
think even when we went on our anniversary in Tulum, and I shared like a crop top photo and I was so nervous. And he was like, you got this. I was there with you.
Oh,
You're fine. And I was like, wow, this did well. And I felt it literally just changed the way I felt about sharing on social media as well. And I was like, there is nothing wrong, nothing bad happened. And even to say if I got a negative comment, I don't think that should stop me either,
no,
you know?
no.
But it was such a like eye-opening experience because like I said, I felt comfortable in front of him, felt nervous, shared it, felt comfortable again. I was like, wow, that didn't hurt. Nothing
Yes.
happened. The sky didn't start falling or anything.
And then you went from a crop top to all the way to bikini, so
Exactly. So it was like, and then I remembered when I was at the Dead Sea or like 2 months ago,
yeah.
and took a photo. I met this lady, Christy. And we took pictures of each other while we were there, and so she has also taken a picture of me for my feed, I guess. Um, but yeah, a swimsuit again, and I was just so focused on sharing how great that experience was. I actually completely forgot that I was, sharing a swimsuit photo, and I was not nervous at all. And I was like, I really think like that
Oh,
practice and that
yes.
acceptance helped me to reach that place for sure.
It's a little bit like public speaking, right? I mean, you're so nervous, and then
Exactly,
the more you do it, the less nervous you are.
exactly. Exactly.
Okay, I hopefully that gives everybody encouragement. I know I feel encouraged. I'm gonna, start sharing more. I think for me the trick is just getting the photos. And so like I've got my husband who can take photos, but I feel funny like posing in front of him. I know that's so silly, but I just have to get over it and just do it.
I don't think it's silly. We actually, and I hope this helps, like you said, anyone's listening. We Googled and YouTube like poses,
Ah,
and that helped because yeah, sometimes you don't want to just you have your hands like awkwardly at your side or everything. So
yes,
that helped. We watched like maybe like two videos together, nothing like to be fake, but just like the best poses for you, or even like
yes,
ideas. So that helped because we kind of both had that mission in mind.
yep.
And it wasn't just me showing up dressed up, hey, let's go take pictures, and then I don't know what to do. It was like, oh, okay,
We're gonna do this pose. We're gonna do that. Yes,
yeah. So that
right.
helped a lot for sure.
Ah, good. That's a very good tip. And I think another thing, I'm answering my own question as I ask you, is I feel a little self-conscious of my kitchen. And it's not that I don't love my kitchen. It's
Yeah.
just that, when I'm on Instagram, the
Oh
kitchens
my
that I
God.
click like on are like freaking gorgeous. It's like the model home kitchen. And my kitchen doesn't look like that. And so but then I realize, just as I'm talking to you, I think a lot of people don't have kitchens like that. So maybe they might see a photo of me in my kitchen and they'd be inspired by that because it's just like their kitchen.
Yeah, I agree because I felt the same way. I was like, oh my gosh, my kitchen is not all white. And,
Yes.
it doesn't look like my background and it's not marble. Oh no, it's awful. And then I was like, okay, but it's the kitchen that all your recipes have been made in. And no one has ever said, oh, we hate your kitchen. And
Yes.
yeah, we just like we took a few photos earlier this year when we were sharing like my morning routine, had some styled pictures in the kitchen, and you're like, oh, my kitchen looks good. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be perfect. And I think it's actually a lot more relatable. And I think
Yeah.
there are little ways we can show our audience, hey, my kitchen looks like yours and it works perfectly fine, and kind of like also thinking back to why am I sharing this? And I think that core question helps. I'm sharing this to show them that they can make this in their kitchen too. So I think that helps as well to just keep that
Yeah.
in mind.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I
Thank
really love
you.
that. And actually, it's interesting that you talk about that morning post because I actually remember that post of yours and you
Yeah.
talked about your morning routine. And that kind of leads me to my next question, which is
Mhm.
I think you work primarily from home. So I was wondering if you could talk about how that feels for you and what you've done to help yourself stay organized.
Yeah, of course. So, like you said, morning routine.
Yeah.
One of the things I realized, and I did it, I this time of the year, I do it more often. In terms of like starting the day wrong, and I'm just glad that I'm aware and I can correct. So I'll share that as well, like how to correct it. But on a great day, start my day with meditation, like almost immediately, and
Yes.
have like a large glass of water. Try and spread my bed because that already makes me feel like, yeah, I've done something.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, morning routine, whether that's like yoga or something, or sometimes we try and exercise in the afternoon. Have my matcha latte every single day. Like that's like the core out of that everything, meditation and matcha latte are like the things that I have to have. And breakfast. And I think that really helps to just like, okay, put Jessica first, because
Ah,
sometimes when we start our day and we're in our emails already, you're just like, no. And your brain
yeah.
is like, you can hear the voice telling you, what are you doing? Please stop, please go and eat. And so even like the days that I start the day like off badly, I try and stop and just meditate. Like I meditated before this, and I think it really helped, just to like reset and
Yep.
kind of feel like this is my purpose. But also, I'll make sure I take a shower, whether it is like stand in the sun, whatever it is to like say, this is the day I'm starting, and like sit at my desk because I try really hard to like not work in my bed at all.
Oh,
So I
good.
think it's kind of just about if you had a morning routine like working somewhere else, adapting that in a more, whether it's relaxed or stringent way, depending on what you need, into your home so that you take it more seriously.
I love that because it's so easy to I mean, I know a lot of people talk about working from home in your yoga pants. And honestly, I wear my yoga pants a lot, but I also I like what your point is like, take a shower or I even put I don't wear a lot of makeup anyway, but I put a little bit of
Yeah.
mascara on or whatever and brush my
Yeah.
hair so that I feel like I'm doing this day like, I would if I was going to the office. It makes me feel like I'm taking myself seriously.
Exactly. And I was going to say, and you said it exactly, take it seriously, and take yourself seriously,
Yeah.
because I'm not going to lie. I wore yoga pants the other day because I normally don't. I wore them the other day and I was like, these are really comfortable.
Yes, they are.
But I definitely agree. Like, I think you really want to just break it up into like, this is my work day starting now, and just
Yeah.
like if you were working, like when I was working at the law firm, I'd have my morning routine. I'm definitely not a morning person. So I think that was the other thing I would say. You kind of need to make your always work for you because I think for the longest while I tried to like force myself into working at this time, and I was just always quote unquote late. So I was like, okay, Jess, if you can start your day later, which may mean ending it later, but it's your office hours, I think that's important as well to like make your schedule work for you, not the other way around. So I'm not
Yeah.
like encouraging working late or anything, but I definitely think if it means you finish at 6 or 7 instead of 5, but you've started 2 hours later, or whatever time you finish or start, it's like your routine because I feel like when I try to make it I tried to like stick into what my like law routine was, and that just wasn't working for me at
Mm.
all. And then I'd end up struggling like the first few hours to even stay awake, and then like
Oh,
being wide awake at 4 p.m., and like ready to start.
the
So
matcha helps with that, right?
yeah. So I think definitely, like I said, trying to make it work for you. So like for me, it's waking up at 9. A lot of people wake up at 6, and there's nothing wrong with either way. It's
Right.
just, what is my day supposed to look like?
Honoring, your own physical needs, I think is important. Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
And you mentioned earlier about editorial planning. Is that a part of what organization looks like for you as a blogger?
Yeah, so I have, and my designers help me so much. So like,
Oh,
I work with Norel like more often now than Caitlin, but Caitlin and I, speak like a couple times a month, but Norel and I speak every single day. And
wow.
every month she starts an editorial calendar, and I really needed someone to just be like, I need you to put your stuff in here. And it helps me as well, because sometimes I'm behind. In fact, probably like the entire like last quarter, I've kind of been like, on the nose kind of, but I always know what I'm going to make, and
Yeah.
that helps because ahead of time, all right, oh, I don't have a recipe for a Thanksgiving dessert. All right, let me slot that in. So definitely at the beginning of the month, I know what I'm going to make for the rest of the month. And
Yes.
that's really helpful because it just helps with planning, and you don't end up feeling as flustered. It's like when it's at its best, I know everything. I finished everything, even like in the first like week of the month. And it's just about like scheduling out the posts and that kind of stuff. But yeah, even who I'm working with now, it's supposed to help me to be like, 2, 3 months ahead, and kind of having like that backlog if,
Yes.
a sponsored post is late or something. And I think out of everything, that's really the thing that helps, because you also feel like you're, being a bit more loyal to your audience as well, because they're looking forward to your posts, and that
Right.
you have something there for them to follow along, and they know, okay, she posts these days. So I think that really, really makes a difference.
I mean, it's kind of interesting if you think about it. Like, let's say if you're posting 2 times a week, that's only 8 posts a month. It seems like it should be easy, but there's so much work that goes into every single post.
Exactly. And I think sometimes it's not even the editorial calendar, it's all the other little stuff, the
Yes.
emails. Oh my gosh, emails are like a time suck. But
Aren't they? Yes.
yeah, but I feel like sometimes it's all the other little things that add up, why that ends up feeling like, okay, because when you're doing your editorial calendar, your recipes, you can't be doing anything else. You have to be cooking that, then shooting
Yes.
that, then posting that. And then you don't want to do all of that work and you're not sharing it. So I definitely feel like 8 is a lot, because yeah, there's so much back work that goes into it.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
Yeah.
I've actually taken to updating and republishing some of my old content. We don't have dates in our URL, so it's easy for me to do that. But
Yeah. No, I think that's a great idea. And I've done it a couple times, and I've seen like a post that I know was great, but just never got like that many eyeballs on it, do like way better, whether it's the right season or something like that.
right.
And even for like next year, that's definitely something I'm focusing on a lot more.
Yes, I love that. And speaking of yours, let's talk about, it's towards the end of this year, and I'm
Mhm.
curious if as you look back on 2018, what do you think are some things that you did that really made a difference for your site?
I definitely think, like I said, the delegating helped,
Yeah.
because taking on like a dedicated designer to help with whether it's pins or I have this great idea, let's do this. That really helped me, I think, to be a lot more creative and to not feel like I was always in Photoshop, which I don't like Photoshop. So that was definitely a great like burden off of me. But I think, like I said, delegating in general, and also just like trusting my gut. It's simple, but I really feel like I said, this is what I wanted and this is what I don't want to do. And I don't think that's something I did a lot before. I feel like I'm a bit more confident, in my business and, just like in my brand, and knowing that I had a brand, which was another big thing, really helped me to say, I'm not doing that. That's not for me. Even when it came to like sponsored posts, there's so many opportunities to sponsor content, but the last thing you want is to turn your audience away. So like I really stuck to, as an example, like working with like brands that were gluten free. So like Bob's Red Mill, I worked with them all year, especially after learning so much of my audience was allergy, that like had so many allergies or were gluten free. So I definitely think those things helped with just like making Jessica in the Kitchen this specific brand, that people can know and rely on, and this proper decision, and just like where I could planning ahead with certain things, I think really made a difference as well. But I think the biggest thing was, like I said, trusting my instinct, and then it kind of like spilled over into other areas from there.
What about video? Have you put a lot of video on your site?
Yeah. So video, oh my gosh, videos. Um videos really made a difference as well. And I'm glad that you brought that up because I kind of forgot about it,
Yeah.
because we did a lot more videos early on in the year than the latter part, and then just try to like re-promote those videos, which I
Yeah,
think helped because they take so much time.
they do.
I also, and thank you so much for bringing that up, because I also started to do videos on YouTube, which take a lot more time,
They
but
do. Yeah.
apparently it helped with quite a few of the sponsored opportunities that I got, because a lot of brands said they got to see my personality, which I thought was so interesting because, Instagram, your videos only last 24 hours, but
Yep.
then on YouTube, it's like they're forever. And I think that helped as well in just like being myself. Like I have a video that's all about like a Jamaican recipe, and I definitely think video on like Facebook as well helped to boost Jessica in the Kitchen, because definitely focused on videos, like I said, earlier this year and last year as well. And you could see a lot more people, clicking through on the videos, and even on the blog posts themselves that had videos. I got a lot more comments because I think people, they end up trusting the video a lot. They're like,
Yeah.
okay, I actually saw that it worked. And then
Yes.
they themselves trust themselves more to make it, So
Right.
going forward, we're definitely getting way back more into videos, and YouTube as well, and just like sharing, because I really, really think that's like, and we've been hearing that, video is the future. But
Yep.
I love watching videos. Like I consume videos more, I think, than any other piece of content. Um, so YouTube, I'm like on YouTube all the time. But yeah, videos really made a big difference.
Well, and just to clarify for people, the difference between what you might see on Instagram and Facebook would be kind of the hands and pans kind of shots where it's,
Exactly,
but
exactly.
on YouTube, the thing that does, I think, best is if you're actually in the video and you're showing how you're making the recipe. Is that
Exactly.
okay?
So like on YouTube right now, I'm not making, well, I kind of like splice the clip. So I'm talking in between, and it goes back and forth to me, but it's still my hands.
Yeah.
But I guess this is a great time to say we're actually moving.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. We're in the process of moving right now, and the new kitchen is going to be bigger, and we've already decided going to be me making it in the kitchen, because it's something I've wanted to do for a while. I
Yeah.
just kind of had that, same slight limit in terms of size and like where would I actually shoot it. So it's going to be a lot more possible now to like have me in the kitchen, making it as well. So yeah, definitely going to be the difference.
Is your husband going to be shooting the video?
Yeah, he's the one that, so like he will set it up and everything, and then we'll adjust it, and then he stands behind and watches me shoots it. We have like one or two cameras up.
Yep.
Yeah, and then he just monitors and it's like, oh wait, no, can't see you there, stuff like that. Yeah.
Get back into the screen.
Yeah.
I love it. That's fun. We're in the same boat because my husband, he does the recording, and so I have to be
Oh,
honest.
nice.
There are times that I think video is still awkward for us.
Yeah.
So we have cranky moments, but we work through all of that, and I know that eventually we'll get it kind of down pat, and we won't have that anymore.
Yeah.
But it's nice to be working together and living together, and I don't really enjoy the fact that my husband and I do this together. It makes it more fun for me, I think.
Yeah, and I think what helps is I know, like, I genuinely know that my husband believes in me.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
think if that wasn't the case, this would be so much harder.
Yes.
So it really does help. And like, he cares a lot about even just like the branding, the image that's going out, and even like I will have a day where maybe I'm not having a great day, and he like try and cheer me up if he knows we're going to be filming a video, because you don't want to
Um,
come across like that on camera, so
no.
that will help as well. But I
Yeah.
totally agree with you. I think it helps try not to talk about Jessica in the Kitchen all the time, but it really does take up a lot of our conversation.
That's better than some things, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, what about your email list? Is that something that you've spent any time on 2018?
Yes and no. So we started to do like a once a month newsletter, and that
Yeah.
was actually my designer's idea. So that's definitely where we like push a lot more effort in. And even like our Christmas newsletter, I think Norel did an amazing job. It's like animated and everything.
Oh,
And I feel like that as well helps my like email readers to feel like, I care about you. I recognize the fact that you said I want to see all of your posts,
yes.
and yeah, just like pushing out, more, hey, if you sign up for this. And it's definitely something that we're working on more in 2019, like more free printables and just sign up and you'll get this sent to your email right away. So
Yes.
yeah, but it definitely has grown throughout the year. I think people saw the recipes, they're like, I really want to like stick to this. So I think that helped as well.
Well, I'm sure the brand, that you got your site rebranded and it's
Yeah,
beautiful. I'm sure that
yeah,
alone makes people
yeah,
want to sign up.
definitely.
And so any other things that you're looking forward to in 2019 that you're really, got some goals set forth for the year?
Yeah, so and this one is kind of scary, but for the beginning of the year, I'm actually going to take a month off. It might be like February or March. I'm not sure yet. And I'm obviously going to like share it with my readers. But I realized this year that there was so much content being produced
Yep.
that I kind of feel like there's a lot that I didn't get to like zero in on. And, how do I make sure this reaches my audience more? Or how do I make sure they really get what's like serving them and solving a problem as opposed to, just like churning out content. So
Yes.
it's not like I won't be like on like Instagram, but I think I'll have like limited posts that month. And I kind of just want to take the time like off my emails just to like really zero in, figure out everything, making sure that I'm like really, spending time on analytics. How can I best do this, for my Facebook readers versus my Instagram versus my Pinterest readers? And we might be cutting back on posts because I feel like, you know, I love posting, and that's a difficult area for me because I love like more content, more content.
Yes.
But then I also feel like I want all of my content to be the highest possible quality as
Mhm.
opposed to feeling this burden. And I think the second something starts to feel like a slight burden, that's not a good sign as opposed to
Yes.
like, an honor to like post. So definitely going to be cutting back. I'm not sure how long it's going to last, but maybe like two a week as opposed to three. And it may not seem like a big difference, but like you said, it is a big difference, because it's
Well,
a lot less content.
I think it's
But
so smart because, I mean, everything has a schedule. If you're like TV shows that you like, they have a schedule. They don't shoot all year long.
exactly, exactly. And, during that time, they can come away, go
Yes.
through what do people like, what do they not like? Okay, let's switch this up or let's include more of this. And I don't think I've ever spent that time. And I was like, I'm really grateful that I can take that time off,
Right.
and just like zero in and focus. And I think it will help me to have way more to talk about as well. I
Yeah.
maybe even talk about I took a month off, here's what happened or something. But that's definitely something I'm really looking forward to. And maybe even in that month, just taking like another week just off, and to just like refocus and like focus on health and everything. But yeah,
I think that's
definitely,
exciting. I can't wait to hear how
yeah,
that goes.
yeah, thank you. But I think just definitely really looking forward to 2019 and, just like using what worked this year, maybe what didn't work. Like I said, getting more help, and so that just that Jessica in the Kitchen can be the best that it can be for sure.
Yes. I love it. Okay, so I have these fun questions I like to ask at the end of the interview. Are you game?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay, so tell me about your favorite food.
Okay. That's a hard question
I
for food
know, hard to
blogger.
choose.
I do love Indian food though, like a lot.
Yes.
And I'm a snacker, so I love making homemade popcorn, and then I like add like like a nutritional yeast kind of like
Yes.
vegan parm blend. So I definitely say popcorn and Indian food, not together, but separately.
I
Yeah.
thought maybe you were going to say that you did some kind of, curry spices on the
Oh
popcorn.
my
That would be
God,
good too, wouldn't
that's
it?
a good idea.
Yes.
That's a really good idea. I need to try that.
Yeah, me too. That would be good for movie night coming up.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, cool. So what's the favorite app on your phone?
Um, well, I use Headspace like literally every single day.
Me
I
too.
definitely say,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I
Yeah.
just feel like it makes meditation, like so much easier. Sometimes I'll do meditations that aren't on Headspace, but I always just like do a Headspace like meditation. But definitely my favorite. Can I choose another one or?
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
um, there's another app, Shine, and basically it's kind of like almost like a morning reading. So maybe like before or after I've meditated, I'll read it, and it's all about like self-care and everything. And so like today's topic was, getting through the last things that you have for your year so that next year's goals aren't about the past, they're all about the future. So it's like really easy, like, like 5-minute reads, and you kind of just feel like, oh, okay, I got this for the day.
Oh, I love that. It's called
Yeah,
Shine.
Shine. Yeah, it's really good.
Oh, that's I can't wait to check that one out because
Yeah,
I it's so funny. I feel like especially if you're on something like Twitter, there's a lot of things that are out there that are kind of negative going on right now, and
exactly.
I want some positive things to hook up and read about. So that's great.
Exactly. That's why I love it. It's just like that burst of positivity in the morning.
Yes, and I'm with you because I like to start my day out with meditation. I can't say that I do that every single day, but
Yeah.
most days I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I tell you, I think I actually sleep better on the nights that
Oh,
have
yeah.
meditation in the day.
Definitely.
Isn't
Yeah.
that amazing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have any time for TV or reading at all? And if you do, what's your favorite?
Well, I mean, I definitely make time for TV. Even
Yeah.
if I like don't have it in the day. Well, I love Netflix, like
Yeah.
completely. And I'd say I love sci-fi shows actually. Like even I just finished a show called Travelers, and it's about
Yeah.
people from the future. Oh, you watch it?
Sean,
Yeah.
Sean watched it. Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's amazing, and so I definitely say anything sci-fi. I think I just love that it's like, a different world, and
Yeah.
it's kind of something fun to watch, and like superheroes and all of that, just like step out and just be in this like fun world for a little bit, and like, okay, all right.
No,
But yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I love reading as well. I've actually been into audio books a lot more lately,
Yes. I love
and
audio.
yeah, I love like just like the self-help category. I think they're kind of addictive, You just always feel like you're learning something new from
Yeah.
like a book or anything, or you're like, oh yeah, this is really motivating, or like, this affirmation or something.
Do you have a favorite self-help book?
Oh man, that is so hard.
Oh,
I
okay.
think the book that like influenced me the most, I would say, is Gabby Bernstein's The Universe Has Your Back. Cause
Oh,
yeah,
I
like
haven't read that
even
one. Is it good?
it's really good. Like I even have there are like 5 things she says, and I have it like on my wall, just like a reminder, kind of like a focus reset kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a really good book.
Oh, I can't wait to check it out. It's going to be
Yeah.
on my list for sure. So how can people find you online?
Okay, so jessicainthekitchen.com is my website. On Instagram, it's Jessica in the Kitchen. On Pinterest, it's Jessica's Kitchen. Couldn't fit.
Okay.
And on Twitter, it's Jess in Kitchen. And yeah, I also have a Tumblr page. Kind of random. I just share like all of my stuff there as well. But it's
Yeah.
deliciousvegetarianfoods.tumblr.com.
Nice.
Yeah.
You're all over the place then. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jessica, thanks for taking the time to talk with me today. I had a great time.
Thank you so much, Marley, for having me on. I had a great time as well.
Thanks to Jessica Hylton-Leckie for being my guest on today's episode of the Chopped Podcast. I felt so inspired by Jessica's story. I talked with her previously, and she decided a couple of years ago that she was going to make growing her Instagram a priority, and she went out there and she did it. I love talking with people like that who go out there and get their dreams, don't you? I mean, I've heard the saying that we're most like the 5 people we spend the most amount of time with. And I definitely feel like listening to podcasts that share inspiring stories can be a part of what motivates you as well. I don't know if that makes sense, but I feel like for me, at least this way is the way it works. When I hear someone telling a very motivational story like Jessica's, it makes me feel motivated as well. I just think that's so cool that, we may not be sitting across the table from each other, but there's so much inspiration to be shared between us. So if you're feeling inspired, be sure to go to sign up today for the Chopped Academy newsletter by going to chopped.academy and scrolling to the bottom of the page and hitting that subscribe button. Thanks to everyone for your support of the Chopped podcast. I truly appreciate your reviews on iTunes and Stitcher. It really means a lot. If something about today's discussion inspired you, take a photo of yourself listening to this episode and share it on Instagram with the hashtag Chopped Podcast. I love seeing your feedback and how you're feeling inspired by the podcast. You inspire me, and I hope today's show was helpful and inspirational to you as well. Thanks for listening and have a great week.